Here's 5 things you should avoid doing to your electric vehicle. Hi, my name is Mike and I'm from Greenway Electric. I've been driving EV since 2013 and there's a few things I've learned over the years of what not to do with my electric vehicle. And the first one is don't leave it fully discharged for any period of time. What I mean is if for some reason you're driving it and it fully runs out of charge and then it stops, you want to get that charged up sooner than later, and you don't want to leave it weeks or months at a time. So you want to make sure to charge up your battery. Some electric vehicles will have what's called a phantom discharge, and Tesla is well known for that. If you leave a Tesla parked for a long time, it's going to lose its charge very, very slowly, approximately around 1% per day or 0.5% depending on the situation. And if you leave a Tesla unplugged and in storage for a long period of time, eventually it's going to go down to zero, and it will go into a self-protect mode and it'll shut all its systems off. But you would like to avoid doing that, and you should leave it plugged in when you have it in storage. Other vehicles may or may not have a phantom discharge, so you can potentially leave them for months at a time and the charge level will remain the same. But in any case, however you get your battery down to zero, you certainly don't want to leave it there, and you should be recharging it as soon as possible. The reason you don't want to do that is that your battery cells, the voltage on the different cells are going to be very low, and because of the battery chemistry, it really doesn't like to be fully discharged for any period of time. Your battery is most happiest when it's being kept between 20% and 80% charged. And so if you're down to that 0%, then that's the time when you really should be trying to get it charged up. The next thing you should avoid doing, and it's kind of the opposite of what I just said in the first item, is leaving your fully charged vehicle just fully charged for months at a time. Like being fully discharged, typically EV batteries don't like to be fully 100% charged up for a long period of time. And this can lead to battery degradation over a long period. And if you add heat to that, it's going to degrade your battery quicker. Some electric vehicles will allow you to charge up to a certain percentage and maintain it there, and so you can use that feature on your vehicle. Some vehicles will not have that feature and they will just simply charge to 100%. So if you're using your vehicle every day, then I probably wouldn't even worry about this. You can just charge it to 100%. But if you are leaving it for a long time, I would avoid charging it to 100%. If I'm leaving my car for a long time, I'll charge it to somewhere between 50 and 80% and leave it there and unplug it. Unless it's a Tesla, which you can set your battery to a certain percentage and leave it plugged in because of the phantom drain I was mentioning earlier. I'm curious, for those of you out there who are EV owners, who else has phantom drain on their vehicle? I know Tesla is most well known for it, but are there other brands of vehicles that has phantom drain as well? And maybe just to explain what that is, phantom drain is essentially a trickle of electricity that the car is using to maintain some of its computers and systems and maintain connectivity, because there's a lot of connectivity options on the Teslas, and many other vehicles have as well, so they perhaps have phantom drain as well. So leave me a comment below. I'd like to hear a little bit about phantom drain on your vehicle if it exists. The third thing I would say that you should avoid doing is park your car when it's cold and not charge it up until the morning. So in the winter, if you are driving your vehicle and you come home or you arrive at your destination and your battery has a low charge level, that's the best time to recharge it because the battery is still warm. If you park it outside and you leave it outside overnight and it's freezing temperatures and the battery is allowed to lose some of its heat, it's going to be harder to charge it in the morning because the battery, when it's cold, will not accept a charge as quick, and the battery's computer will protect itself, and it will not allow you to charge as quickly. So if you're trying to do a level 3 charging or supercharge, it's going to take longer in the morning than it does at night when it's cold outside, because the battery is already warm from being used during the day. So if you have to do that recharge in the morning, the car is going to have to warm up the battery while it's trying to charge, and it's just going to take longer to do that overall. The fourth thing I would avoid doing with your electric vehicle is expose your vehicle to extreme temperatures when it's parked. And so in the summer, when it's super, super hot outside, of course, if you go to the mall and you're parking outside and it's 110 degrees or 110 Fahrenheit or 40 Celsius, then, that's fine to leave it out there for a couple hours while you're shopping. But if you're planning to, say, for example, leave your vehicle in storage and you're parking it outside and it's going to be that warm every day for weeks on end and you're leaving it in that condition, often the batteries have a temperature limit that they prefer not to reach. And especially if you're on black asphalt and it's just absorbing all that heat is not great for your battery. So I would try to park in a shady area, shaded spot if it's really hot outside. And conversely, in the winter, if it's super cold outside, you can park your car outside overnight and that's fine. But if you're planning to leave your car unattended for quite a period of time and it's very cold outside, and I say cold, I mean below 0 Fahrenheit or minus 18 Celsius or colder than that, if you're leaving it out there for an extended period of time for days and weeks, I would avoid doing that. If there's any chance that you can park it inside, even just under a roof, it's going to maintain a little bit of heat. If it's inside an unheated garage, it's probably going to maintain a little bit more heat and it'll be better on your battery. Because what's happening is while that period of time is going on and you're not attending to the car and it's sitting out there in the cold, some of the cars do have a battery monitoring system that will still be alive and active when the car is turned off, and it's going to use the battery power to heat itself up. But eventually, if you leave it for weeks at a time, it may run out of power and then self-discharge and then not have enough power to heat itself up. So anyways, I would just avoid exposing it to those temperatures because you're testing the limits of the battery and the technology and the battery management system. If you really still have to do that, you're leaving it outside in the extreme cold in the winter, I would suggest plugging the car in so that at least it can take care of itself and it can run a battery heater if it needs. Because if you leave it unplugged and it's not going to plug in or have any power to run the battery heater, then it eventually will just run out. And I know this conflicts with one of my other rules about not leaving it at 100%. So in that extreme cold though, I would take the preference of plugging it in, leaving it at 100 or 80 if you can, versus leaving it entirely unplugged and not knowing what's happening with the battery, potentially draining it down to 0 and then for it to shut off and be sitting at that super cold temperature and be fully discharged. And then of course it's super inconvenient for you when you come back to the vehicle. You'll have a 0% battery. It's way better to come back with 80 or 100% and have the car available for you to drive. The fifth thing I would avoid doing with your electric vehicle is charging it every day if you don't have to. So what I mean is a lot of the electric vehicles now have quite a long range. Their batteries are quite large and can go a long distance on a charge. So if you're only driving a few miles or a few kilometers per day and you're only using 1 or 2 or 3 or 4% of the battery capacity, then I would suggest not charging it up every day, because I would avoid if you start in the morning with a 100% fully charged battery and then you use it a little bit during the day and you come home with 98% and you plug it into the charger again, I can't say that's wrong, but I would say if you don't need to charge it, then don't, and run it for a few days or a week until it gets down to somewhere in that 50% range, and then allow it to charge itself back up again. If you're constantly recharging it from 98 to 100 and bouncing back 98 to 100, that's just not going to be great for the battery, because it's always going to be sitting there fully charged. It's not really using the capacity of the battery. And it's also probably going to be inconvenient for you, and it's also going to be putting a lot more cycles and charge cycles on all of your charging equipment as well, which is just not really necessary. Now, on the other side, if you're using most of your battery capacity and you come home with 30% or 20% or 40% and you need the full battery the next day, of course, charge it, plug it in. Even if you're going to 80 to 100 every day, that's probably still fine. You could probably get away with using it for a couple days before charging it. But if just those really tiny little trips, those 1 or 2 or 3% charges, I would try to avoid those to preserve your battery longevity, as well as all of your charging equipment longevity. All of those things, there's contactors and different mechanisms inside of them that they go through a cycle every time you plug it in, and they're not going to last forever. They of course last for thousands or tens of thousands of cycles, but if you're charging it daily, then they may wear out prematurely. So these are my thoughts on 5 different items or different things you should avoid doing to your electric vehicle. I want to get your thoughts. Is there anything else that I missed? Is there anything else that's important? Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what should I add to my list of things that I should avoid doing with my electric vehicle. If you found this video interesting or informative, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and consider subscribing for future videos. Thanks for watching and have a great day.